Is it Nuke Norman?
Hello! Welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Welcome. Thank you for watching us live on Facebook and the YouTube. Don't forget to go check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. And don't forget to go find us on the Twitter and the Instagram. Thank you. All right. We have lots to do today. I'm going to go share the video because that's what you're supposed to do.
Is that what we're supposed to do?
Yes, everyone right now, go share. And I'm going to tell people to come watch it.
Ain't nobody gonna watch it.
It doesn't matter. They're haters.
They do. It's okay.
I'm going to tell them right now, come watch the show. And they're going to be like, I'm busy.
Yeah, we used to have friends.
They're haters.
I like the word consider. We're waiting for people to get here.
All right.
Before we officially start the show.
Well, I don't even know what that is, but I don't think that's for real.
Who cares? That means we're in Russia.
It's something in Russia.
It's a bot of some sort.
Hello, bots. Welcome. All right. Where do you want to start? Oh, you know what? I didn't even turn the slides on. I always try to be prepared, and then somehow I always miss something. But that's A-okay.
Usually the way in your world.
I know. Share screen. All right.
You can start wherever you want, my dear.
Not really, because then you're going to be like, no, let's save that to last.
No. When you ask me specifically, I'll...
Okay, so where do you want to go?
I honestly don't care.
Well, we're not going to go there first.
We have such an eclectic variety today.
What came out first? Or longest?
Chicken or the egg? The... Like, 2 or 3 of them came out on Wednesday. The other ones came out on Saturday.
You want to talk about this?
Which one?
This one.
Sure.
We'll just go there.
It came out on Wednesday.
All right, let's just go here. All right. So the first movie that we're going to discuss this evening with you is The King's Man. That's correct, right? Not to be confused with The Kingsman.
But wait, it's connected.
Is it?
Why is the name different?
I don't know, babe. Why is it different? Tell me.
I don't know. I thought you were going to tell us.
Oh, no, you're going to tell us.
You're not going to tell us?
No.
But I thought you were going to tell us.
Babe, don't be dumb on the show. Let's talk.
Did you say don't be dumb?
Yeah.
What is that? Does that say Nuke Normandy on your shirt?
No. Normal.
Nuke Normal. I was like, honey, we need to discuss your political agenda.
I have random t-shirts.
I know. I thought you were putting on a political agenda during
our
our
show. I would never do that.
And I was like, honey.
I would never do that. I don't care enough.
I'll support you, but we need to discuss it ahead of time.
I don't care enough about that to do that.
Well, speaking of Normandy, we're going to talk about The King's Man, which is a prequel to the Kingsman series. It's based on a comic book series. If you've never seen The Kingsman or The Kingsman in the Golden Circle, I think it's called. It's about... Excuse me.
Really?
It's like a James Bondish English spy superhero action comedy.
Kind of mystery thing.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. So they decided to make a prequel to show us where it all began.
Yes.
To how they formed the Kingsmen. This time you got Ray Fiennes. Ralph Fiennes. Ray Fiennes and some other people that I don't know.
Wow.
I don't remember their
names. Lots of
of
cool people in this movie. What do you mean you don't know these people? You know these people.
I just went blank on their names.
Okay.
Ralph Iphens.
This is Ralph, right?
Yes, Rafe.
Rafe.
Yeah, it's not pronounced Ralph. It's spelled
whatever.
Ralph.
This is Voldemort, right?
Yes, Ray Fiennes.
Okay, Voldemort's in there. Gemma Arterton.
Is it Adder or Arterton?
Arterton.
Or is it a typo? I don't know.
I don't know. Then we have Reese. I don't know who his name is.
Iffens.
Matthew Good, Tom Hollander, Harrison Dickinson, Daniel Brühl. Oh, and I love Jijimon Husong.
Yeah.
I'm sure I said it wrong, but I love you. You're awesome.
The mustard guy?
Yes.
The Dijon.
Charles Dance and Matthew Vaughn. Okay. Directing.
Matthew Vaughn's directing.
Okay.
Matthew Vaughn did the first 2 Kingsmen as well as X-Men First Class and Kick-Ass and then a bunch of comic movies.
There you go. Okay, then.
So this is one of those that's been being promoted for like 2 years.
I thought this already come and gone and I missed it. That's what's happening with a lot of these movies.
Well, because everything that came out this year was supposed to come out last year because of COVID. So everything's a year behind. So
and I don't understand why. If it's already been done, just put it out.
Because no theaters were open.
But we'll watch it on the line.
Some of them didn't have the line to put them on. There's not like a Universal streaming service to put out Universal picture stuff. They would have to sell rights to different things. That's how a lot of this happened.
This is just too much.
So like there's a lot of movies that came out like through Apple or through Netflix, things like this. They had to sell and buy the rights.
We'll put it on a website that you go pay to log in and watch it.
But people don't want to do that. The whole thing is they're not going to make their money back not being the theatrical release. That's the problem.
I gotcha. I'm there now.
So that's why a lot of the it's been a big deal with box office this year, because even big box office stuff has all been down. Stuff that probably would have made money didn't make much money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and in Warner Brothers, the only studio that dropped their entire catalog on streaming for 30 days at the same time, which caused a whole nother issue, because you have actors and things that
people not getting their points or whatever.
Yeah, they have back end on their points. They have a chance to see it. Plus, if you give the option of streaming, people are less likely to go in this kind of situation. You know, and Disney got a little whipping because of it, because you know they did that with Black Widow and some of the other ones, and then it caused a lawsuit, and so it's just an unprecedented situation that we've been in.
These are unprecedented times.
But needless to say, this movie opened and it was kind of a flop anyway. But it's hard to tell
or did people
because
just not
people don't care,
go?
or people just didn't really care, or people just didn't go. Like this is a highly unnecessary sequel.
True.
Prequel, because this is a movie that does not need to exist.
Correct.
Everybody that I know that were fans of the Kingsman were actually more upset this movie existed, because they wanted to see more of the existing Eggsy story.
Right.
And they're supposedly going to still make that.
I hope so.
But with this one not doing well.
But that has nothing to do with the other, I hope.
It does, because it's still part of the franchise. So
I know. But
it's hard to tell, because it's the same director, the same kind of team.
Yikes.
So before
you never know.
I'm sure we have difference of opinions on this movie. So
okay,
what did you think of the movie? Because I've now seen it twice, because I saw a screening and then I took her to see it.
Now, did you hear it the first time?
I did. There was a couple of moments that I couldn't hear, but nothing that overall.
And the second time, did the headset work or did it not?
This one works. One I had to go back and forth for.
Oh, okay.
And remember,
but the headset
at one point it was working and giving me description, but no dialogue.
Oh Lord. Okay, so you did the headset thing where it amplifies. Yes. There you go. Okay, so you can hear. All right. So there's no reason why you can be like, I didn't understand it. I don't like it. But let me tell you, I liked this movie. It was super fun.
I enjoyed it.
It's unnecessary. I think maybe the last few minutes where it actually explains the whole setup of the thing for the future movies is probably the only necessary part. However, the story of Voldemort and his son here is very compelling.
It is, but it's a separate movie than this.
That's
this one of my biggest issues. Outside of this unnecessary aspect of this movie, I had fun with the movie as well.
Yeah,
and I like the time period, and I like all that kind of stuff, and I like the clever gadgets they use for the time period to kind of still match with the Kingsman idea. The problem is, it's not a bad movie. It's just so unnecessary that it was hard to care. Because I'm like, I don't need to know the origin of the Kingsman. It's like, do I need to know the origin of the FBI? Do I need to know the origin of the police department? No, it's the same kind of thing. But forgetting that aspect, it's a fun movie, but it felt to me like two different movies altogether that didn't need to be in the same movie. So like the first probably half, if not over half, which is the story of him and his son, seems like one movie that has nothing to do with the other movie. And I understand it's the catalyst
eventually
of everything else.
It all comes together.
But it feels so drug out with a lot of unnecessary time and back and forth of the same argument.
They probably could have trimmed it down a little bit.
And given us more of the other stuff, because when they get to the meat of the other stuff, it's very convoluted, it's fast, and it's kind of, okay, we got to hurry up and explain this to you now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it spent so much time with their silly storyline that
it wasn't silly, but I know.
But I mean, it's almost pointless
at this point. Yeah, because they go through the same argument like 4 different times. So I get what you're saying. I absolutely agree. We can probably cut that down a little bit, but it was important and it's compelling. And there was one point where something like major happens, and I feel like I'm the only one that reacted.
See, and
oh my god!
I like the way
silence.
I like the way they dealt with that because it was unexpected, and I can see how that kind of changed it. But then again, we spend so much time to build up that, and I think the idea was to make us think the story is going one direction, take it away from us, and it also mimics something that happened in the previous films to 2 different people, It's the very same idea.
It's just
in a
crazy,
different, in a
guys.
different way.
This was Red Sparrow all
But
over again.
Then again, the aftermath of that seemed rushed.
Yeah.
Because now they were like, oh, we gotta, you don't give enough time for the person to deal with what happened. It goes all the way to rock bottom to jump with like one dialogue scene, and then
I know.
we rush into everything, and it's like forgotten about.
I mean, they try to insinuate the time has passed before the surgeon.
But had they cut the other stuff down,
yeah, we could have
extended a little bit more about that person's situation and what they were dealing with that led to what we get to.
I agree.
And even
I'll give you, they could have cut down some stuff, but overall, I enjoyed it. I would watch it again. I know you've already seen it twice. I'd probably watch it like 5 times.
My biggest concern was when I watched it with the second time, was I going to enjoy it once I realized it was okay at best. It's still not as good as the first two, in my opinion. It's okay, but I still enjoyed it the second time. Not any more, not any less, about the same. I think I was less annoyed with it the second time because I knew what I was getting.
Yeah.
Like the first time, I thought we're seeing the evolution of the Kingsman. We're gonna see him train. We're gonna see, you don't get any of that.
Yeah.
It's like it's just these people are already who they are, and they just decide to do this. And then there's even kind of an element of the ending. There's a mid-credit scene, but I'm not talking about that part. The ending of the movie, the way it ends, it almost feels purposely setting up for future movies in this franchise for this time period without knowing if we're going to get it. Because there's characters that are like in the movie for like 3 seconds that are suddenly supposed to be very important. And I was kind of put off about that a little bit because I told somebody when I left the screening, another reporter guy who had the exact same thoughts I had, he was like, that is such an unnecessary movie. I said, right. But we both agreed that if they do more of them, then it could actually, in the context, be its own thing. Correct. As long as we get kind of a finale film for the Eggsy story as well, and not just abandon that.
Right. Agreed.
Which they said they're going to make another Eggsy one, so we'll see.
I hope so. The other thing you mentioned, the time period and the gadgets and the whole thing, because we are in older time period here during World War, I don't know, 1 probably. I don't know. Anyways, your hair is puffy, but
I washed it.
I liked how the network worked here, like their network of spies, so to say. So that was really interesting. The lady was fine. This guy's my favorite. I have to look up how to say his name, but it's Jaemun Han-soo is one of my favorite people in the whole world.
He's always good.
I just love him. I think he's such a great actor in everything that he does.
He is. I agree with that.
Yeah, he's just good. And then I liked Rhys Ifans, who's one of my favorite people that I've liked since Notting Hill.
He's not one of your favorite people. You like him in like 1 or 2 things.
1 or 2 things. Notting Hill.
And you never know who it is until I tell you.
No, and I'm like, oh, it's that guy. So I liked him. In this one,
he's most currently known for playing the Lizard in Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, but in this one, he's
Rasputin.
Rasputin.
Which is a whole weird element to the movie.
That character was so strange.
He's strange.
And I don't know.
He's billed like this is kind of a spoiler, but not. He's billed in the trailers as like the primary villain, but he's not.
Right.
And that doesn't ruin the movie knowing that. He's very prominent in the film.
Yeah, he's one of.
But he's weird, and it's just. And I think that was their quirky villain idea. When Samuel Jackson was quirky, what's her face in the second movie was very quirky. I think they felt they had to put a quirky, weird character, but there's like a supernatural element to him, and you don't know if it's real, if it's not.
Well, because he would have been gypsy, I guess, right? So
he's Russian, yeah.
They have powers.
They call him a wizard in the movie, but it's like
I don't know.
It's hard to tell if the stuff he does is real, if it's not, because I think Rasputin's a real person.
Yeah.
I think there was like a dabbled in the dark arts or something. Because there's a Rasputin also in Hellboy. That deals with the Nazis and all that kind of stuff. So
the only great thing about his character were his fight scenes.
His fight scenes, the best
fight
scene in the movie.
That was amazing because they used a lot of like the Russian dance.
Yeah. It's ridiculous as you're watching it, it's ridiculous looking. But then as you watch how they're using it, because it becomes very
he does one of those cool like swirly things. I'm like, oh, that'd be like a spinning kicky thing.
Yeah,
so
it's almost like they're taking it almost like capoeira and using the mentality and using the Russian dance stuff. It's awesome.
But if you can dance, you can fight. So I mean, it's like footwork and the boxing.
That was the best. That was the best fight.
That was the best part of the whole thing. Yeah. Anyways, check it out. If you like the others, you may like this. You may not. That's okay.
Did the real Rasputin die in a dance fight?
Yes, he did. Totally died in a dance fight at age 47. That's very young.
Oh, wow.
Siberian.
He didn't die in a dance fight.
He didn't.
I'm just being silly.
I'll find out. Scandalous and sinister reputation.
Anyway, we'll read up on
overthrow the Romanov dynasty.
Anyway,
Yeah, sorry.
The King's Man. It's a fun movie. If you like the other ones, you should check it out. I didn't find it great. I was a little let down, and I don't know if it was anticipation from how long ago we've been waiting to see it. That's some of the articles I've read. And some people think the reason it didn't do as well is because people are just tired of it at this point. Nobody cared anymore. It's been so long they've been promoting it.
I agree. That's happening to me. I'm getting some fatigue on some things.
But in this case, it was uncontrollable because of the situation. It wasn't like when they release trailers too early, and then by that time, which is what you're talking about.
Yes.
You see a trailer so much you don't even care anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, The King's Man is in theaters now. The only way you can watch it as of right now is in theaters. But with the way it did this weekend, I wouldn't be surprised if it showed up on digital sooner than later.
Yeah.
But hopefully it's not going to hurt the franchise. We'll see.
Oh, well. Okay, next, where do we want to go? I want to save some of those. You want to go here?
Sure.
It's random.
That one opened on Christmas Day.
All right. So.
All right, the next one is a inspirational, feel-good movie ideal.
Uplifting.
It's American Underdog, starring Zachary Levi and Anna Paquin and Dennis Quaid. Also, what's his name? Daniel.
Not there yet.
Is it Daniel Baldwin? Not Daniel Baldwin. He's a Baldwin that's not related to the other Baldwins. He may not be on Mother. I don't think I have him on there. Anyway,
I'll find it.
He's the one that's the coach from Firefly. He's not a coach in Firefly. He's the coach in the movie from college, but it's the guy from Firefly, Jane.
Oh, yeah. He's good.
He's a Baldwin, but he's not an actual Baldwin. He's a different Baldwin.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this movie is the inspirational true story of football great Kurt Warner and his rise to professional football status and MVP and Super Bowl champion. But it's really about his love life and his perseverance and struggles and his relationship with his current wife and her special needs child and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot happening in this movie.
There's a lot happening. It's an interesting being an inspirational sports film, but it doesn't focus on the sports as much.
Yeah,
so
we got a little bit of it.
There's a lot of football in there, don't get me wrong, but it's because his story's not about that as much as it is how he got to where. But that's also where I have an issue with some of this movie, which I'll explain.
Alrighty then. So
this is another one you know nothing about.
I know nothing about the man. I've heard the name, but I know nothing really about football. Obviously, he's very important. He won some Super Bowl thing.
You do know one big thing on football.
What?
What is it? You used to yell it all the time.
Offsides.
No.
False start.
No. None of these things. This thing you used to yell all the time because you learned it from that reality show because the one guy kept dropping the ball.
Oh, high and tight.
There you go.
But I do know offsides, false start. I don't know. He does all these same things.
Fair
He turns his microphone on and
I
off.
like everything about football is the referee stuff, not the football itself.
Yeah, I don't know anything
about that. It's all just about
the.
you know referees.
Like,
all right. Anyway, move on.
You go.
So this movie it's essentially, you might as well be a faith-based movie. It's from the same.
I was wondering, is it Dove approved?
It's not Dove approved. Yeah, I'm sure it will be, but it's from the people that made the I Can Only Imagine movie or whatever it's called.
Yes.
So it's another thing. And Kurt Warner is very heavily in his religion and Jesus and stuff. So a lot of people I know are big fans of, not because of football, but because of his religious beliefs and putting it out there and all that good stuff. So, but I will tell you this: for those of you that are kind of put off by, oh my God, it's a preachy movie. This is not that movie.
It's really not.
His faith plays a part of it, but they're not trying to push faith and stuff.
And that was actually one of the things that bothered me. I didn't think there was enough Jesus in this movie.
That would have made it feel forced because this story was not a Jesus film.
I guess
it was because he made a point of his faith, but that wasn't his whole thing.
So it's not too Jesus for you, just so you know. Because I thought there should have been more.
Why?
Because
without knowing anything about him, why do you think there should have been more Jesus in it?
Because obviously she really was centered in her faith and introduced him to it, to bring, brought him more closer to religion and God and all that. Okay. And I just thought there should have been more acknowledgement of God. Knowing that this
How many times does he have to point to the ceiling and praise God and thank you?
Okay. All right. Let's go. So there, it's not Jesus-y.
God doesn't need praise. God needs to know.
God does need our praise.
God doesn't need praise. God
Humans
needs to know
were created
you praise
to
him.
praise God.
God doesn't need praise. He needs to know you praise him.
Okay. Well, there you go. So it's not too preachy. So don't worry about that.
One of my issues with this movie is it's a good movie. It's not a great movie that it could have been, but it is a good movie. One of my issues with this movie is there's a lot of holes in relation to, like, one of the biggest things about Kurt Warner that was always amazing was the fact that he was an undrafted NFL player. Like, it's unheard of to get in that far and be undrafted.
Yeah.
It happens, but not typically like that. And so there's so many times where he keeps getting these chances and there's no real explanation of how he's bypassing all these things and the way everything's. It's kind of quickly touched on, but not enough. That to me would have been, because there's a lot of stuff in this drags on, like the Kingsman, where it drags on elements of their life or relationship.
The relationship with them and her kids.
And again, is important, but could have been, again, became repetitive at times. The same conversations, the same stuff, where it could have touched base a little more depth about, well, okay, if you're not drafted, you can't do this. Well, what if we go this way? It's like somebody making a phone call. I have an idea, and they at least would have given us that insight on how he really get through that pace. It explains it, but not enough. And that should have been more the meat of the story, since it's about his rise into football, not just their relationship.
Okay. Well, but I think that played a big part on it too, knowing his upbringing, and then he kind of falls in love with someone that
with bad hair.
No, yeah, bad hair, but going through the similar thing as how he grew up. So I think in a way, you told me you married your mother because I won't shut up like your mom. He married his mother, essentially, a woman going through life hardship, a single mom. But he was able to then take the bad things that happened in his past and change them for this next group of kids.
And I agree with that. And
it was nice. He's such a nice person.
And I like the elements, because those elements have always been important in anything that happens with Kurt Warner. Is you don't get past an interview without him discussing his family, his faith, or especially the kid that special needs, which I didn't know was not his kid. Well, going into this,
Correct.
I thought it was. I didn't know enough about. I knew the story and his application stuff, but I didn't know that wasn't his biological child. That it was, she already had it. So that was something new that I didn't realize. And I want to say that I think some of the best parts of the movies
that little
is
boy,
the boy and Zachary Levi's interaction.
That little boy,
and I believe this is little boy's first movie.
Yeah, little boy,
and he's really crying. Blind. He's really blind, and I found
Hayden Zeller. You are the cutest.
I looked up his Instagram page when I was researching it, and it was all stuff with him. Like, there's one cool thing. There's a picture of him with the director, or one of the directors, and he's got his little cane, and they gave them a map of the locations of their house, so they can walk the pattern, because he's got to look comfortable at the place.
Yep.
So there's that, and they showed a picture of him with his script. It's all in Braille.
Oh,
and so it was really cool to see that, that
oh my gosh, this kid,
they really had,
this is the only film he's ever done.
Yeah, he actually works on something else, because he posted on his Instagram meeting so-and-so on the set of something. So he's working on something else.
Oh, good for you. But yeah, every scene they had together was just amazing. This little boy's amazing.
He's good.
Because he's, the real life person, the real life son, is autistic and legally blind. So that's challenging.
Yeah.
But like she said, he's on his own journey. And I'm like, that's cool, man. Do you? But yeah, their scenes together, I was going to cry everything. I cried all over the place.
Did you?
I cried like 2 or 3 times. Now, when you asked me if I was crying, I actually wasn't
that was
crying.
The one time
I was laughing. But a different time I was crying.
I was crying during this movie, but for a different reason altogether.
Oh, Lord, why? Did you not enjoy it?
No. We'll talk about that in the theater experience.
Oh, Lord. Yes. But,
not really crying, but
no, but almost. I was just like,
it's to me though, the overall movie, while good, it felt like a movie that would have been on Netflix or a Lifetime.
I think it was like a Lifetime.
It's not
bad.
Production value. It's not like a Lifetime movie. Outside, although some trailers we saw before that movie definitely looked like.
I'm not seeing Mermaid or whatever
that movie's called. That or Redeeming Love, both looked awful. But
anyway,
but it's a movie that didn't. It didn't feel like it deserved to be on the. I hate to say deserved. That it didn't belong to get that big budget release, but at the same time it did. You know what I mean? It felt right there on the cusp of being either or. But I also don't think Lionsgate expected a big release for it, because it didn't do well.
Our theater was full.
Yeah, but it didn't do big numbers. but I think it fell along the line of what Lionsgate kind of predicted it would
But
do.
yeah, because I think these type of movies, like your faith-based inspiration, has its audience.
Yeah, well, and it's hard to get anybody to watch anything that is not a superhero movie or a
Right, and right
blockbuster.
now everybody's watching Spider-Man
Yeah.
or
So one of our friends is
something.
going to see that Indian movie today about cricket. I went and watched the trailer.
Lord, this was so funny. So we come out of the theater, and not to lie, there had to have been like 70 Indian people, like from India, there.
But we thought they might have. There's no way they came out of our movie because it was in a smaller
I'm
theater.
like, did they all come to see Spider-Man as a family?
And it's Christmas Day, so that's not unheard of.
And then I'm like, no, there must be an Indian movie playing.
And then we left, and then I remembered a friend of ours telling me she was going today to see some Indian movie.
It's this inspirational movie
about
a cricket player,
yeah,
an
really
Indian cricket player. So I was like,
that explains it. But
okay.
It was funny because she was saying something like she thought it was going to be a big hit because all the Indians would go see it.
They did.
I said it'll be a big hit, but it's not going to be a Spider-Man hit because Spider-Man's killing everything.
No. Yeah, no, but all your Indian friends did go see it.
So
we saw them there.
And I made a joke at the theater. We have to ask her if she knows all these people, but
She probably does.
And then finally, she's going. It was funny.
It's funny. Anyway,
so
sorry.
Maybe we'll see if she wants to come on the show next week. And tell everybody about the movie.
Okay.
She'll call in.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, we'll see if we can make that happen.
If you want, and if you have an opportunity, go check out American Underdog. Our theater was full. There were a lot of people.
It is a good movie.
It is a good movie. Okay. Anna Paquin's hair at the beginning is horrible.
Anna Paquin's hair throughout the entire movie until the
very last scene. And then
awful.
We were glad to see at the very last scene the lady's real hair.
She finally could afford a hairstylist.
Beautiful hair at the end, but yeah. Anyways,
I
think it's
I don't
good.
know if I was looking at it and I didn't find any pictures with her hair like that. I'm sure they probably, with Kurt Warner was involved in producing it, so I'm sure that's probably factual. I'm sure his wife was involved too. So
yeah.
But his wife, she was actually in the military at some point. So
yes, that's probably why.
Maybe that was supposed to be like her hair growing out from being in the military, or
correct.
She just never knew what else to do with it. But anyway, who knows? But
okay,
big question.
Only other thing you need to know about this movie is I do know this lady that's in the movie who plays Jenny Jo, who I believe was it the sister? I don't know who it was.
The mom to her mom?
No.
It looked like her mom.
No, because that's his mom. Was it? Anyways, shout out.
Yeah, because that's his mom. I think that's her mom.
Okay, well, I know her. We did theater together, so.
Oh, you know her personally?
Yeah, so she was promoting this movie. So thank you.
Look at you.
Shout out to Morgana.
Did you send her a message or no?
I did not, but I will.
Do you have her message?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, we should get her to see if she come on the show.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk
I didn't think about it.
Yeah, call her, see if she might be too important for us now.
She probably is.
Does she have any other big things that we know about?
Yeah, she was in the TV show Salem for a long time.
That's cool. Well, if you still have her phone number, text her so she come on the show. We'll talk about her work on American Underdog.
Sounds cool.
Anyway, big question. It's a true story. So, were you happy with the way they wrapped it up at the end?
I did. They did the perfect real life. When you do a real life story movie ending, I was pleased.
It's cool because being a public event and everything else, it's broadcast nationwide and whatever else. It's cool because they have that footage, and so
that was cool. Like
transitions
right in.
Final sequence transitions into the real situation, and you get to see the real celebrations and the real this and the real that, and you kind of get to see all the real people that these people portrayed, and it was very cool.
Yeah,
it's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
If you like something, you want to see something different, you like whether you like football or
inspirational, motivational.
Go check it out. Decide for yourself. You might think it's trash, but whatever.
You don't know.
All right, moving on.
Okay,
next. Theaters now.
Next, where do you want to go?
Okay, pick one.
I'm going to go here.
I'll go there. All right, this next one, completely off topic from anything else we watched. I knew about this. I had a screening for it I wasn't able to go to. And then thankfully, during all for your consideration stuff, I was sent a screening link for the Tragedy of Macbeth, the Shakespearean play. This time, directed by Joel Cohen of the Joel and Ethan Cohen directorial duo, who did Fargo and I think No Country for Old Men. I think they did. They might have even done Raising Arizona, if I'm not mistaken.
I say.
Don't look them up. I don't remember. I always mess them up with the Farrellys, but I'm pretty sure they did Raising Arizona. Anyway,
let me go look at this.
But the Tragedy of Macbeth is obviously the Shakespearean play, but it's starring Denzel Washington, Corey Hawkins, Frances McDormand. I don't remember anybody else off the top of my head, but it's an interesting take on that classic, iconic play that fully black and white. but it's still
which is
movie
different.
style, if that makes sense. I'm not huge in Shakespeare. I understand it. I've watched a lot of it. That's just not my go-to thing typically.
Correct.
For any other reason other than I just don't. There's no like I hate Shakespeare. If anything, I like more of the controversies of what Shakespeare did and didn't actually write that keeps coming out. That's the stuff I want to see. The lies of Shakespeare.
The lies of Shakespeare.
So anyway, but I know you're more into the Shakespeare stuff.
I was into it. I mean, I was into Zeal literature.
And you're a theater person, so which I'm not. So, what did you think of said film?
I enjoyed it. I did like the black and white style of it. I think because a lot of the casting was done regardless of race. So you may have someone say, farewell thee, cousin, but one person's white, one person's black, and it doesn't matter. And I think I liked that. I liked that we just did a colorblind casting and whoever was whoever. So that appealed to me. And I like the black and white symmetry because I think it harkens us back to the time period of old.
Well, it also adds an essence and kind of a vibe to the scenery.
Like
and stuff. One of the things I was talking about in my review of it is like I thought this movie it's one of those. It's like a master class in acting because everybody in this movie is good.
Everybody's good.
Denzel's no shock.
I mean, it's Denzel,
excellent.
And he loves theater.
He does.
We know that.
And he's the one that gets to do all the big soliloquies and long speeches and stuff. Frances McDormand is great in it, as you mentioned. She didn't play it up as crazy.
Yeah, so I've seen some people do a really crazy Lady Macbeth. Hers was just normal crazy, not over the top.
She was just crazy enough that's kind of more believable than I'm over the top. Woo,
Yeah.
But as we talked about, I think Corey Hawkins probably was one of the better ones. Who was the I don't remember the character's name. But he doesn't say as much in the movie, but he gives off a lot because of his loss
and vibe.
His loss and his vengeance and his redemption.
He's Macduff.
The crime dog. You didn't see that one coming in?
I did not.
Boom.
He's Dr. Dre.
But he's really good.
He's really good.
He says a lot without saying anything sometimes.
Yeah, and I like that we're seeing who you would not think of as a Shakespeare actor, being like Dr. Dre or
He is the one from because he has a brother that looks just like him.
Oh my gosh, I hope it's the right one. Let's go find out.
I think
But like the little kid from Harry Potter is in there.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like I wouldn't expect you to be in Shakespeare, but why not? He's straight out of Compton. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just making sure because he has a brother that looks similar.
Okay. So, I mean, and I like this. I like that you see people that you're not like, hey, like the guy from Buffy who's just vampires and monsters to me. Right. He's spitting out some Shakespeare. I'm like, okay, go boy.
Well,
so
it's one of the things that I think, whether you're a fan of Shakespeare or not, on the acting side, that is like the gold standard of almost any performance. Like most people, if they want to find out if you're a good actor or if they want to audition you for something, a lot of times you hear stories where they give them a monologue from Shakespeare to do.
They will.
Because and I think it's a mixture of selling the emotions and the depth and all the range and all that stuff, but also doing it with words you don't always understand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this kind of movie is probably like an actor's dream and nightmare all at once. It's like they want to be in something they can say, I starred in Macbeth. But I'm like, oh my God, I got to star in Macbeth, and pull it off. And in this case, it's framed with the sets and everything else, look big in scope like a feature film.
Correct.
But you can also imagine the exact same sets on a stage.
Yeah, correct. And I like because this is one of the stories that actually moves quickly anyway. Because suddenly it's like you get the notice, you're going to be king. Then she's going to try to plot to do this. So it happens fast when you're reading it, but seeing it, it was happening even faster. So I thought, okay, this is probably how Shakespeare envisioned the story because this is one of those. It does not drag, like it goes. Yeah,
and I think,
I like seeing it.
It's interesting. I would have never noticed this before had I not had a hearing issue. So we watch everything with subtitles.
We do.
So I have trouble not only hearing it sometimes, but also spacing some of the random wordage out because of hearing and it not being in the context of what you're used to hearing.
Correct.
So being able to read it not only helps with the hearing, but it sometimes makes you better understand what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're somebody that doesn't get Shakespeare as much, like I understand this story, I know this story, but if you don't get it, watch any of the Shakespeare. It doesn't matter if it's this one or some other production. Watch it subtitled.
Yeah.
Because if you're reading it, sometimes you're gonna have a better understand when they say,
because,
"Doth thou walk through the door?" And you're like, "What is he talking about?" When you read it, you're like, "He walked through the door." Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, because in these stories you have to know the characters' names.
Yeah.
Because it's Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, but then you have the Macduff and Lady Macduff.
The crime dog.
So yes, the crime dog.
If you didn't know, this is where the crime dog came.
Yeah, correct. And so, yeah, I agree. The subtitles were interesting.
My biggest thing that I loved about this movie, and it's an aesthetic visual, was the way they handled the Witches 3.
Yes,
they
love these witches.
They got people. The one lady's obviously a contortionist of some sort. The way she's moving when you see her the first time, which only makes her unnerving and kind of creepy. They didn't make her the old school boils and grossness. She's dirty and kind of grimy, but it's the creepy movements. But the best shot, there's a shot of them 3 perched up on top of these rafters, and their cloaks are hanging down, and they look like 3 crows or ravens.
Oh, and it was just one lady, actually. Catherine Hunter.
She played all 3.
She's all 3 of the witches.
Well, there's only one that talks. Anyway.
Correct.
So, but I'm just saying,
at
they
one
have all
time
3 of them
only
perched.
one talks anyway.
Yeah,
and there's a cool shot too when they first come up. So, well, the one you're talking about, the perches. I'm like, where's the cauldron? Because at this point, there's supposed to be like Eye of Newton, this and that, and I'm like, where's the cauldron? And it's cool because the entire room becomes a cauldron.
It's like a floor that's
so interesting. And I was like, oh, this is cool.
Instead of having a little pot.
Because on a stage, that's all you have is the pot.
Yeah.
You know. But anyways, and when they first introduced her, there's this cool shot where she's standing near kind of a puddle of water, and you see not her reflection, but the reflection of the other 2 witches. So all 3 of them are there. And then suddenly they come into frame. And it's just so cool how they did it. Yeah, I like seeing it in a movie style.
Yeah, this movie is a visual movie. I think it's a brilliant piece of cinema.
Yes.
That if it had any other time, if it hadn't had Denzel in it or somebody else, I probably would have had no interest in watching it. I was more interested, I'm not going to lie, to see Denzel in this.
I mean, that's why we're there.
And also, I like Corey Hawkins too. So, like, I like Frances McDormand, but I wouldn't watch Macbeth because Frances McDormand's in it. But seeing, I kind of wanted to see what Denzel's going to do with this. You
Correct.
know, and
I think I would have liked both of them to go a little more over the top, but that's just because that's what I'm used to seeing. But then again, on a stage, you have to go a little extra for the people.
Yeah, when you're in front of a camera, you got to pull it back a little bit because then you look ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because you can see everything.
Correct.
Like, that's one of the things I think I don't like about theater is you have to go so over the top to make sure everybody can see every movement you're making. There's the heavier makeup so you can see their face. I can't stand, you know, it's all that stuff annoys me because to me, you got some of these people still have such brilliant performances on stage. It takes me out of it because all I'm seeing is the overacting and the ridiculousness. I know why they do it, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
And like in this case, they were able to tone down their body movements. They didn't have to do this crap.
Correct.
It was like normal people talking.
Correct. And I think that's what I appreciated about Denzel's performance. It's like just what a normal dude would be thinking. His monologues where he's like, should I do this? Should I not? Is what a normal guy would say.
I also like that he never came off, despite being a horrible person, he never came off as a villain, really.
Correct.
Even though
He kind of is.
He kind of is. He's kind of obviously untrustworthy and kind of evil on some level. But he doesn't come off of that. It's like that slow, subtle.
Yeah.
Well, and it's because his character is clearly delusional of his immortality. You know, and it made it an interesting.
But like we said, you can't trust the witches.
That's right.
You can never trust the witches.
I can't trust a genie either.
But I think though too, the way he played it, just the normal. He's not really good. He's not really bad. I think the whole thing centers around the very first basis of the story is what happens because he knows what's going to happen in the future because they're like, you're going to be king. So is it happening the way they planned or is it happening because they told him what was going to happen? So he did it.
Yeah.
But that becomes the whole story of like even, what's his Anakin? Like, he's the one that will bring balance. Yeah, but not what you thought.
Yeah.
Or even Neo.
Yoda says maybe we had it wrong.
Yeah, like Neo, he's the one. And you remember in the first movie, yeah, okay, but that didn't really work out.
That's a good segue into our next film.
So it's that thing, like, do you really want to know the future? I don't think you should because you either force it to happen and it happens, but unnaturally because you knew. So I don't know. That was the whole thing of the witches, man. The witches.
Well, what's cool about this movie is it's in theaters now, which I personally would hope people would go see in the theater to help promote something, because again, it's something different than what's always out there.
I think it would be awesome to see it on a big screen
without
being interrupted. Just focus in on the story, because this is when, like, if you're not very familiar with the story or with Shakespeare, you're going to have to pay attention just to understand what they're talking about. I mean, you'll get it.
But if it's something you don't want to spend money on, and I get that too, because you don't know if you're going to like Shakespeare or you don't like Shakespeare, whatever. It is going to be premiering on January 14th on Apple TV Plus, which is, you don't have to have an Apple TV. It's a streaming service. So yes, you're like, I don't want another streaming service. Well, too bad. It has other stuff on there too, like
there's some really good
Finch
shows.
is on there. Greyhound, the two of Tom Hanks movies. It's got some other original shows. It's a good little show. It's got some Snoopy stuff on it.
The blind Jason Momoa show.
Oh yeah, see. It now has Dave Bautista as well.
The morning show is on there.
Vietnam.
No, morning show, and then the other one everyone was talking about.
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. I mean, there's so much stuff on there to watch.
And I can tell you that A24 put this out in theaters, so that's how it's getting its award contention.
Yeah.
That's why you're getting a lot of these movies.
Denzel will probably get some, but it's Denzel.
That's why a lot of these movies are getting these theatrical releases, but then there's something going to streaming. You have to be in the theaters for a certain amount of time to be considered for awards. But that's kind of changed now. Like, they're now allowing Netflix movies, allowing other movies in there. So I think all the pandemic stuff is going to completely change the mentality of awards. And I think that's actual. I don't think you should have to be in the theater a certain amount of time to be nominated. If you're good, you're good. I mean,
them's are the rules, and they're all the rules.
But anyway, Tragedy of Macbeth is in theaters now. Check it out, or wait till January 14th on Apple TV Plus.
There you go.
But since you mentioned the one,
let's talk about the one.
We were going to save this one for last, but you brought it up, and it segues into.
It does segue into
the long anticipated movie nobody thought was ever going to happen because we thought it was over. Was the latest in the Matrix series, Matrix Resurrections, which is very aptly titled.
Yes.
We all know we had 3 Matrix movies. The first one is a brilliant piece of action sci-fi cinema.
Yep.
The second 2, depending on who you ask, are hit and miss. I personally am a fan of them, even though there are problems with both of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of them as a whole.
Yep.
Those 3 movies. The first one stands by itself perfectly.
Correct.
The other 2 enhance the first one, but they play together as one long series.
We're going to talk about this.
So before we get into the Matrix Resurrections, which we like, how did they possibly come back?
Mm-hmm.
They were dead, right?
Were they?
Were they, though? And there is a line that I haven't seen a single person mention. I'm not saying they haven't, but at the end of Matrix Revolutions, that kind of hints that this other movie could happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, but let's dive back into the original.
Let's travel back to 1999.
Man.
Good old Y2K was upon us. We thought the world was going to end. The computers were going to die. But guess what? It didn't matter anyway, because we were actually in the Matrix, and the computers were controlling us this whole time.
And the Matrix kind of, I want to say theoretically, and I'm going to explain why.
Okay.
The movie theoretically broke down a lot of barriers in sci-fi and action with bullet time and different things they did that had never been seen before. But they just got credit for it. They had been done in some of the Ringo Lam movies. Me and another guy, my friend Aaron at Urban Legends, were talking about this, that Ringo Lam had done some of these movies, stuff like this, and some of the Asian action stuff. But it doesn't matter. We're not going to get into that argument. It's Hunger Games and Battle Royale all over again.
Correct.
But the movie itself was original. It was different. It was something fun. And it was Keanu Reeves as an action star.
Correct.
Which, after Point Break and Speed, I could buy into that.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I'd been like, Bill and Ted?
Ted.
Which is kind of the thing. And then Lawrence Fishburne, I'm like, Cowboy Curtis from Pee-wee's Playhouse, and
with his shirt all off.
Dad from Boys in the Hood. What?
Yeah.
Anyway, so what is your thoughts on the first film?
I really enjoy the first film. I do think it was original at the time. I think now looking back on it, some of the CGI or whatever.
I think the first one's CG still holds up pretty well.
It's okay.
I still love the first one.
I thought it was original. I mean, to me, when I think of the original Matrix, I think of, this is so bizarre, but Poe, stick with me. I think a little bit of like Edgar Allan Poe, because Edgar Allan Poe in his poem told us, "Are we but a dream within a dream? Is everything what we see and see?"
Not to be confused
Is
with
it?
Dream a Little Dream, starring Corey Feldman and
So
Corey Haim.
his idea was, are we even really alive, or are we just living someone else's dream? And that's the question the Matrix asks us. You know, it's like, this isn't even real, you guys. You're living in a computer-generated program.
Well, that's kind of like my mentality
And
that
the
I always tell
computers are
everybody.
eating
Is like, what if our entire life is a dream, and when you die, you wake up?
I know, we don't know. So that's where the Matrix brought us. And then when you get to the end of the and then you get through the whole idea, you're the chosen one. But are you the chosen one? I don't think so.
Got a lot of religious undertones that were actually expanded on bigger in the second two.
And then, which is the one where he gets there and the guy's like, yeah, ha ha ha, to you. Because it's this.
Oh, I was like trying to figure out what that
is. That the first movie?
No, that's not it. That's in like the second or third.
One?
Second one, I think. You know, in the room of TVs where he's
talking.
Yeah, that's in the second.
So you know, the idea that there is an oracle that's going to tell you your future. Again, I go with this thing. I don't want to know my future, because even with him, she's like, I'm just going to tell you. You can believe it or not believe it. Well, then what was the point?
That's the thing I think always worked with the oracle in this series, was that she never really told you crap.
Mm-mm.
She told you what you needed
just
to hear
to get you moving,
put you on the path of where you needed to go without ever telling you crap.
Correct.
And even there's a scene like, you know, in the originals where she finally does whatever he's going to do and ends everything, and she's like, I didn't see that coming.
Well, and it's just like the first time they meet, and she's like, don't worry about the vase. And he's like, what vase? And then she's like, did you do it because I told you, or were you going to do it anyway? So that's the whole thing.
Yep.
And that is the whole thing of the Matrix. Is it because you think you're the one to save humanity, or is it just because
the
this
big
is who you
downside
are?
to the Matrix existing these series is it's put in some people's head the use of references for the Matrix all the freaking time, where they're like, oh, you don't listen, especially right now. We know something specific that's all about, you know, they're antiviruses or anti this or anti thing or whatever. It's always like, you're just in the Matrix. You got to get out of the Matrix. You got to see reality. It's like they're obsessed with it. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They're obsessed with the Matrix. They have been forever. And every time there's a situation, here comes a stupid Matrix discussion. I'm like, good Lord.
I mean, it's possible, but how are we going to get out? Like, hey, if somebody's in charge of the Matrix, I want to get out.
Really want to get out. We were talking about this too. It's like when you watch the Matrix and you're seeing this fight for reality and this, and then you come out and you're in this shithole universe.
They eat slop.
I'm like,
they have no clothing.
If you don't know, why not stay in the Matrix? It's not hurting nothing.
Correct. I mean, the computers are feeding off of our enzymes or whatever.
Who cares? Like, if you don't know and you live a perfect life, you're happy, and then you die at normal lifetime.
Yeah, because the way they were living in the real world was not pretty.
Yeah, I would have stayed. I would have been
plug me in.
I would have just been just like the guy in the first one. What's his name? Joe Pantoliano, where he's like, I want to go back. I eat my steak.
He's like, just make sure I don't remember anything. I don't want to be rich.
Yeah.
I was like, heck yeah. Me too, buddy. Me too.
The only reason I'd want to know about the Matrix and be able to go into the Matrix is be able to do all the cool shit they can do.
Just be like,
but I'm fine just living life and walking around being perfectly oblivious to whatever bullshit nonsense is in the real world of that. All right. That is just ridiculous. So that is not a good metaphor.
Matrix, good. We liked it.
So we dive into the new one.
Then we get to number 2.
Oh, you're going to go into the...
Yes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead then.
Is that Reloaded? Matrix Reloaded, fine. So we're still fighting for humanity. It's like, okay, why are we here?
Well, now we have Neo is kind of become chosen one, and he's a little more powerful, and he's like a superhero at this point.
Yeah. And then
now we have Agent Smith.
Fighting the Smiths.
Smith is now wanting to take over the Matrix, is where the story is going, because they destroyed him, but he came back as a corrupted program.
Correct. He's free of the Matrix itself. He can run on his own.
So
it's
the second two, although I will say the second one has probably one of the coolest action sequences I think ever put on film, with the highway car chase and fighting on top of the trucks and all this stuff. And you get badass Daniel Bernhardt show up, and there's also a fight scene when they go to see the Oracle's bodyguard.
Yeah.
That fight scene in that little room.
That guy is awesome.
He's
like, I needed to make sure.
Yes, he's like, just fight. He goes, because you never really know someone until you fight them.
I was
I totally understand that.
But that was a great fight on those tables, walking back and forth. It was
and
cool.
Fun fact, that part was written for Jet Li. We turned it down.
Okay, I'm looking at something.
So that should have been Jet Li.
That part was a good part.
Yeah.
It should have
turned it down though. You also know who was originally supposed to play Neo.
Who?
Will Smith.
Really?
He had the meetings, and he said, "I didn't understand this movie." And
Oh,
he turned it down. He turned it down, I
no.
believe, to go do Wild Wild West.
Wild Wild West.
And he even talked about today one of the biggest mistakes ever made was turn down. He goes, but I didn't understand it. He's
But
like,
you know what? That's okay.
and that was the first Matrix. That wasn't
Oh,
the series. It was turned down the first one. He said, I didn't understand all this crap. You know?
really? He didn't
He
understand.
was
the
just so
Ryan
out
system.
there. His mind just didn't comprehend it. I guess. And
Hmm.
so anyway, but the second and the third one I think play up as a whole.
Correct.
These two I agree with you. The CGI does not hold up as well. It looks more like you're suddenly in an actual video game, which would be fine in this context. But it's supposed to be inside the Matrix, but where people look real, and it goes so off the rails that it looks like a video game character sometimes, and goes really ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. And then I don't know if it's this one. I'm trying to figure out is this one or the next one. I think it's the next.
Just
one.
ask me, and I'll tell you.
When he finds out he's been there.
I told you that was the second one.
Oh, is this one?
Yes.
Okay, I'm looking it
He
up.
has a conversation with the guy, and he's like,
yeah,
I believe it's this one.
I think that one was like the shocking reveal that got me. I'm remembering, when we watched it again right now, not as shocking, but
it's just a loop.
I'm like, he's been here before.
Planet of the Apes all over again.
And then he tells it, I'm gonna wipe it all out. I'm gonna erase it all. You can pick founding members as try again. Like, why would you let him try again?
Well, I think it's because that's kind of the way the program is played out and how they work it, because they can't stop them from doing stuff because he knows he can't stop the rebellion itself. Okay. So they're probably going to somehow raise them. Whatever.
Because it says the 23 who were freed from the Matrix would believe that they were the first members of the Resistance, and they would be looking for the one to go get him. So it's like, we're doing this over and over again. I'm like, oh my gosh. So that's where I was like,
the change was
by
the time everything is resolved in the final film, or so we thought was the final film, is it went a different path.
Correct.
Which is why everybody, and of course, because there's not a lot more to discuss in heavily detailed, but that final sequence of Revolutions, there's a dialogue that I totally didn't remember, which I'm glad we rewatched before we saw the new one, because it makes the new movie make more sense.
It does. It did help.
On some level. Whereas there's the little Indian girl that was at the train, and she's with the Oracle, and she's like, "Well, you think we'll ever see Neo again?" And she's like, "I don't know,
maybe
possibly,
someday.
Or something to that extent." And even the guy in that room comes and talks to the Oracle. And she's like, I didn't see that coming. And he goes, you think this is going to stop us? And she goes, well, kind of it is what it is, whatever.
Because the Oracle never answers it.
Yeah, so it kind of left everything with, there's a chance that Neo can come back. And there's a chance that this isn't over.
Yep.
So now we dive into the brand new film, The Matrix Resurrections.
And by the way, Matrix 3 bothered me because there was no Neo in Matrix 3.
This is not, the movie's not called Neo. It's called The Matrix.
Neo.
It's called The Matrix.
Oh, whatever. It's called Neo.
This is the He-Man argument all over
again. Neo was not there enough. Okay, then we get to the new one.
So the new one is, first I'm going to tell you, there's hit and miss. I've heard people talk about how much they love this movie. I've heard about people who thought they had the same opinion of this movie being an unnecessary sequel, which it is.
Yeah.
I've heard other people say that it's just horrible. It's the worst one of the franchise, which I disagree.
I think number 3 is.
Which is funny because this Matrix discussion has now become the Star Wars prequel discussion to me, because back in the day, everyone hated the prequels. But then when the new Skywalker saga came out, everybody suddenly loved the prequels. And, these are the worst Star Wars movies. Give me the prequels any day. But you didn't say that years ago. And that happens all the time. So in this case, but I get it. Some people hold the original Matrix in very high regard.
I agree.
And I have one reviewer friend who hated this one. And he talks about the first Matrix is one of his all-time favorite films. And so I can see how this wouldn't work as well for him. This new movie, while it's a completely original story, is also very much a partial rehash of the original film. Stop reading stuff and pay attention to our show.
I ain't paying attention.
I see you reading over there. I know you're reading. Focus face. The idea this time around is, how do we talk about this without spoiling it, because there's a lot of elements to it.
I'm going to spoil the whole thing.
Is obviously you've seen the trailers that Neo is obviously back in the Matrix, and how is he here? What's going on? And it's explained and it's rehashed and it makes sense. But to me, this entire movie is kind of a satire / metaphor of sequels. The story, the elements, the all the different things that have come before it in this movie and other films, and it's kind of very meta. where it's aware of itself.
Very.
You know, and I thought even though this wasn't the story I wanted to get, I thought it was very clever.
I thought it was super clever because we can't tell you what's happening to Mr. Anderson, but so he's back in the Matrix. And we can't tell you why or what he's doing because I don't want to spoil anything. Because that's part of the mystery we try to solve throughout the film. Like, what the heck is going on? Because we do think he's dead because he sacrificed himself to save the humans, we thought.
And he became like godlike sun energy.
Like, wow.
Yeah,
He was like this.
so how could he possibly come back? And it is all explained.
And it
actually
is
makes
very
sense.
self-aware in a way.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because that's what would probably happen in real life.
Yeah.
If somebody would take it and be like, oh, ha ha ha, let's do this.
And one of the other big arguments / questions is, where's Hugo Weaving and where's Lawrence Fishburne?
It's explained.
It is explained, and it does make sense.
You weren't happy about it.
I wasn't happy with one element. I actually really liked the guy. He's another one of the names I can't remember. Hold on. Let me get to it. The guy that played the new Morpheus, the younger looking version of Morpheus. His name is, he's huge right now. Yahya Abdul Mateen II. And you know him. He recently played Candyman.
Oh.
He's also Black Manta in Aquaman. The bad guy with the big head.
Yes.
But he's actually really good in the movie as Morpheus. And I liked that direction. I loved what they did with that Morpheus character and why he looks different, the element and how that changes. But there's still a variation that could have brought Fishburne back. He couldn't have been brought back for this part. It wouldn't have made as much sense.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they did it, I don't know why they didn't bring him back for another element.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is. Hugo Weaving is one of those characters that I love Smith, but it wouldn't have made sense for the story.
I agree.
Because it had to be different.
Where we're at in the timeline and where Neo's at or whatever you want to call him at this point, it would not make any sense at all.
Yeah, and nobody's going to...
I get it.
Nobody's going to
miss
top
it.
Yeah, nobody's going to top Hugo Weaving's performance.
No way.
But I like... Here's something other that's very meta in the movie I was entertained by, was both actors have elements where they kind of mimic them, but on purpose. Like,
yes.
I couldn't resist. You know, they're making reference and they know they're different.
And it's interesting because it does take you for a loop at the beginning because we're like, wait a minute.
It's like the exact opening scene.
It's like, what's happening right now? But it's interesting where we've gone because the thing, it has evolved. And I feel like all you really need to understand, it's like how your programs upgrade and there's the new version and new version.
It's like when the guy
we've new versioned our way to here.
It's like when you talked about earlier where the guy talks about this loop happening, but this time it's a loop but with different players.
Yeah.
Playing the same loop, because if you take one of those out, it's going to change everything, but it doesn't change what happens. Correct. It changes the people that do it.
So it's being backwards compatible, but you have to go to the it's redoing itself. Big
props
interesting
to Neil Patrick Harris, who I didn't think was going to be that much in this movie.
Yeah.
He's got a big part, and he's really good in this.
He's really good in this. Super.
I was proud of myself because I caught a reference to somebody.
Yes, you did. You're like, oh, that's going to be so and so.
Yeah, because there are some stuff that harkens back to the old movies.
Yeah, it is helpful if you watch the old movies before. Yeah. I'm just going to say.
And there's one specific one that I figured out, which isn't hard to figure out if you watch them.
If you pay attention. Yeah. Well, if you've recently watched it, it'd be fresh.
I thought it was clever casting, and I thought it made the perfect sense for the evolution.
And it's so funny because at one point you're like, where is this person? I saw them in a trailer or saw something.
No, they had been earlier in the movie, just been in a quick passing, but there's no way that person's in this movie for 5 seconds.
Yeah, there's no way. I'm like, you never
and they
know.
had a poster too.
Okay.
So there's no way you give this person a poster just because they're a name.
Who knows?
But anyway, I actually like this movie. I don't care what anybody else says. I like the.
Well, you should never care what anyone else says.
But I like all the Matrix movies. Yes, I understand.
I don't like 3.
I understand they have flaws. I like the second 2 as a one whole movie, not individually. They don't hold up very well. The first Matrix movie is the only one that holds up by itself. This new one doesn't work really well by itself either. It needs the other stories.
Needs the others.
So the first one is a standalone. You can watch it and never watch another Matrix movie, and you would feel complete.
And I'll tell you,
the other ones need each other.
And the other thing that doesn't work for me is Keanu Reeves with his head shaved and no beard. It doesn't work for me anymore. But it worked for me 20 years ago in the first Matrix.
You say that as somebody else posted today that Keanu with a beard and long hair did not work for them in the Matrix.
Oh.
And I was afraid I was going to have the same thought.
But
because
see,
I'm like,
that's my
am I just
vibe.
going to see John Wick in the Matrix?
Yes,
But
and
then,
I'm okay
but
with
then
that.
I realized no, it works because it's a different evolution of the character.
I'm telling you, because it's been evolved. Just think, new program, new update, new update, new update.
I will say I was surprised that Carrie-Anne Moss was not in the movie as much as I thought she was going to be.
I saw someone posted, they're like, "Oh, she did not age well." I was like, "Oh,
I thought
that's
she
kind of
looked
rude."
fine.
I think she looks okay.
I mean, I never thought she was super hot to begin with.
But here's the
that's
thing:
just me.
both of them look the age of the time that's
Yeah,
passed,
because
and I
it's
think
taking
it's
place
appropriate.
20 years after. It's
And I think it's appropriate because if the computer's still feeding off you, I mean, hello.
yeah.
I'm believing.
Well, there's
I'm
a whole
believing that the computer's
There's a whole
really
thing,
eating
we
our
talked
energy.
about Keanu Reeves looking with the beard and the long hair. That usually makes people look older.
No,
In this case, he looks younger because when he does have the head shaven and his facial hair, you can see his aged face.
Mm-hmm.
Although that means he probably had a lot of makeup when he did the Bill and Ted movie because he looked weird without his facial hair in Bill and Ted.
Correct. They tried to make him
But
smooth.
I think they made him look normal. Anyway.
I don't know.
I really like the Matrix Resurrection.
The beard and the hair, that's my thing though. I like a man with a beard.
Well, I like the Matrix Resurrections. I thought it was fun. It had some great action. Not all the action was up to par with the
There's
other
a few
films,
little
but
quirky things here and there that were like,
yeah.
But it's fine.
This is in fact not the movie I was hoping we'd get if we got another Matrix movie, but big props to being something different and being very, from my understanding, Lana Wachowski, who when she wrote and made this one, it was actually her own therapy for the loss of her parents and some other issues in life. This was what this was all about, and it lives up to its name and everything else. So
okay.
You can check out the Matrix Resurrections in theaters now, or you can watch them on HBO Max, I think, until the end of January.
Okay, there you go.
So, moving
all right. Next movie. There's so many to talk about.
There's more to talk. How many more we got? 2?
1, 2, 3.
We'll only save that one for next week. We'll just do those 2.
Okay. Do you want to just do one?
No, we can do those 2.
Okay, let's go here.
Okay. So the next one is another one that I believe it got a theatrical release as well. It's another one that ended up getting purchased by Amazon. Or I'm sorry, it's not called Amazon Prime. It's called Prime Video.
Prime Video.
I get corrected by PR people a lot about that. Because you have Amazon Prime, but their video service streaming is
called
Prime Video.
Let's say the right
thing. So it's a movie called The Tender Bar, which is directed by George Clooney, and it stars Ben Affleck. And I got to pull up because I got to get all the people's names of the kids and stuff. Ty Sheridan, Lily Robb, Christopher Lloyd, and Daniel Ranieri, who became famous through Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimbo Kimball.
For putting out a video cussing during the pandemic.
He's the little cussing kid.
Yeah, he cussed about people wearing your mask during the pandemic, and George Clooney saw him on Kimmel, reached out to him, got him, and now he's in this movie as one of the main stars.
It's cool.
So, yeah, I'll just go with normal. What did you think of this movie? Because this is another one you didn't know much about, did you?
I didn't know anything about this. So basically,
tell me what the story is.
Ben Affleck's character is kind of takes care of the family, I guess. He runs a bar, okay? And the little boy's his nephew. The dad's not really in the picture. And it's funny because everybody kind of, when they have problems, they come back home to the parents' house and live. So everyone lives in this house. And I mean everyone. Like the brothers and sisters and all their kids live there. And so he doesn't really have kids or anyone. He kind of is just on his own. And so when his sister comes back with this little boy, he kind of takes this little boy in and just kind of treats him as his own, really. And so the movie just centers around him and this little boy and their relationship as the little boy grows up. As he gets older. And I think the cutest thing is every time he's like, treat your mom well. Like, always take care of your mom. Don't fall in love with the first girl you get. I mean, he's trying to give him parenting advice, but it's crazy.
He's giving him real life advice. Like the advice that people should be really giving.
He's like, always have cigarettes in your pocket. Always keep extra money hidden in your wallet. Don't ever drink without money. That's in case of an emergency. And he's like, don't ever spend your whole paycheck on drinks. I mean, he's giving him advice, but it's kind of weird I mean, he's trying.
But it's advice because it's stuff he sees people wasted their lives with alcoholism. And
yes.
And it's like, it's the stuff you don't learn at school.
Correct.
And the stuff you don't learn.
Like everybody should keep the secret.
It's also in like
wallet.
the 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
So it's a different time. Like there's that whole element where he gives him some money. He's like, go give me to the bar and give me some cigarettes.
Yeah.
And the kid's 7, 8 or whatever. And I'm like, I remember those times that people go to the store, pick up some cigarettes. You know,
it's crazy. Anyways, so it's kind of this little boy's coming of age story, but at the same time, it's really the story of Ben Affleck being a parent without being a parent.
Yeah.
And I think it's about their whole family dynamic. And I think one of the cutest scenes is Doc taking the little boy to the father-son breakfast because he doesn't have a dad. The little boy.
Christopher Lloyd?
Yes, yeah. Christopher Lloyd's the grandfather.
Are you referring to him as Doc Brown?
He's Doc Brown.
You don't even like that movie.
I don't. But no, the grandfather is like the most ornery person. Nobody likes him. He
hates everyone.
He hates everyone because they keep coming back to his house.
Yes, right.
He's like, when are y'all leaving? But that was like the sweetest little thing is he took the little boy to the father-son breakfast because nobody knows where the kid's dad is, and
he does pop up from time to time
randomly, and I'm like, oh, he's one of those.
That's
people.
One of my favorite scenes is the dad does show up because every time the dad comes around, Ben Affleck's character reminds me, "You still owe me $30."
He's like, "Where's my $32?"
And finally, he's like, "There's a scene in there that he pulls up in the car and he goes, when are you gonna give me that $30?" And he's like, "What are you gonna do? Get out of the car?" And he gets out of the car, and I think it's in the trailer. He walks. He goes, "Come on, man, what are you doing?" He just like pastes Ben Affleck in the face, and I'm just like, "Geez, so Pete."
But I mean, it's the little boy wants to become. Well, it's so funny at the beginning. You see it in the trailer. He's like, "Yeah, you're not very good at sports, kid. So you better learn to read or something." So he gives him all these books.
Which, please, people need to do that more often.
Yes.
Tell your kids when they suck at something.
Yes,
because
he's like,
they'll
you're not
either
good
work
at this.
harder to be better at it, or they'll find something that they are good at instead of wasting years and years doing stuff that they just want to do, but they suck at it.
Yeah, and so through that, he's like, you need to read, become a writer. So that's this boy's dream is to become a writer, and so that's the whole point of the story. And
he's all about that's one of the things that this whole movie hinges on the relationship, and not only the advice, but the importance of knowledge. Because even though Ben Affleck's character is kind of this slubbish guy that lives at home with his dad, and he runs a bar and doesn't really seem to have anything else going on, he's very smart. Like he quotes things out of books and Shakespeare and different novels, and
he knows the stuff.
And there's a great moment
they
where
talk about the Iliad, and I mean they're on this journey. I mean it's so
there's this great moment where he tells the kid. He opens his closet and it's just filled with books. And he goes, "You got to read all these books. If you don't read them all before the such and such time, then I'm not talking to you," or whatever. And so it's a kid on a journey to get knowledge. And it's, everybody absorbs everything differently. But if you have somebody that's pushing the knowledge element, you're going to find knowledge somehow.
Yeah. And there was the other thing where his mom's like, "You're going to Harvard." Or was it Harvard or Yale?
She said both. I think.
I don't know.
She goes,
one or the other. You're going to one of these, and
they're like poor people. So everybody's like, whatever.
That there's no way, but I mean, through her insistence and pushing, it happened. I mean, so you go through this whole story,
and it's based on a true story.
And basically, we're watching the story of the man wrote his true story, and that's the story we're watching unfold. And when we get to the end of it, just how he speaks of his uncle Ben Affleck. And that point,
Ben Affleck's not really his uncle.
It's his uncle.
Ben Affleck's not.
Oh, no, not. But I'm saying the character he plays.
Yes.
Once we get to that and how he memorializes him and speaks of him in the book and throughout this thing, I was just like in tears. Like, but I think it's that whole thing that you don't have to be like you didn't have to like push out a child to be a parent.
No,
that's the thing. So, and that's the whole journey of the story. And it's actually super interesting. And I like me some Ty Sheridan. And I love Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
I think he can be really good or sometimes
Ben Affleck
great.
Has become,
but lately,
I've always been a big fan of his, but he's become a better actor after becoming a great director.
Correct.
Because he understands the performances. And one of the best things that's come out of this is for me, I said the movie is great. It is a slow burn movie. It's a talkie. It's not exciting. It's just life. Which made me surprised how much you were going to like it because you don't always like movies that are just about real life.
I know,
because they're downers.
But this story was just so compelling with that little boy.
He's done a bunch of interviews, and it's well known that he's had, alcohol abuse issues, and then of course marital issues and things like this. And there was a lot of dialogue. Like he did this great, I want to say it was almost a 2-hour interview with Howard Stern, talking about his own father and his issues. And he said he saw a lot of the scenarios of this kid and him in his own life and the drinking and whatever it is. But he was saying is working with George Clooney. He's like, one of the funniest stories to me was he said he was doing this sequence and he gives this person a car. And he's like, in the movie, it's an emotional moment of giving the car. And he's like, welling up. He's getting really serious about it. He's like, I'm acting the shit out of this, right? And he goes and they said, cut. And George Clooney comes in and goes, what are you doing? He goes, he goes, it's supposed to be a happy time when you give somebody a car. What's wrong with you? He goes,
feeling the emotion
act
of
happy that you're giving the car. And then he realized not everything has to be deep because you got to sometimes just be joyful.
But for us watching it, I was like,
because even with him playing it as a happy moment for himself, it still has the same effect.
Yeah.
Because you're understanding the evolution where we got. He didn't need to tell us that.
Yeah, I got it.
And that's kind of explains even the genius of George Clooney's directing directing ability of understanding performers.
That's interesting. I think another thing too, like side characters, are like all the guys at the bar.
Because
this little boy grows up with all of these crazy characters.
Yeah.
But it's funny because as we watch the story unfold and he's writing about it, it adds so much depth to your life. And I think we all have those crazy people that we know when we grew up. So someone agreed with
family.
you about telling people when they're not good at something. They're like, we didn't get a pizza party and trophies unless we won.
Exactly. Like that's a big thing. I've had a lot of people in my Taekwondo classes that I teach that have gotten upset because I don't give belts away.
We don't. Sorry.
I tell them the day they start, we are not everybody gets a trophy class.
I have to tell you that the other few weeks ago when you weren't there and I went to class, and that one little girl didn't want to fight. I'm like, we are in Taekwondo. You have to fight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get hit. I'm like, you're gonna get hit.
Which is fine. It's
like yes,
my
you're
whole
gonna
thing
get
with
hit.
any of it is if you're in my class and you're afraid to fight
That's
or you
okay,
don't want to do certain things,
it.
totally fine. Go find something else because this is not for you. You know, and it's you have to be knowledgeable to understand what your limitations are and move on, or you need somebody that will stand and tell you.
Yeah.
Because if I'm drawing something and I'm to the point now where this sucks, I don't like this, I'll throw it away, I'll move on. I know my limitations, but I will take on a job in hopes to push my limitations to draw something better, but I also am not going to take something I know I can't do.
Yeah.
You know, or I'll go to somebody else. So, yes, we don't believe in the trophy. Everybody gets a trophy. There's a time for that. That is necessary on some levels.
That's,
if it's a practice situation, like we used to have you were around during the pizza tournament.
Pizza tournaments are fun.
I mean, we did it way before you.
You get a participation thing, and then you do get a trophy if you win.
Well, yeah.
Everybody gets pizza.
We used to do a pizza tournament thing, which was meant to be a practice tournament so you could experience the tournament mentality without the level of competitiveness in relation to win or lose. There were still people that got first, second, and third place, but then everybody else got a trophy for competing.
You got a medal or something.
But it gave you an idea. Now, do I want to do the real thing?
Yeah, because the real thing, you are going to get hit in the face.
Yeah, it was never a delusion. It was never a delusion of this is how they work. You know, it was meant to encourage you to get out there and try something new and see if it was for you.
Yeah.
You know, but you still got your ass handed to you.
You did.
You know, so
I got some ribs broken at a tournament once.
You got your ribs broken in a regular class.
No, that was a tournament.
I know, but I thought you got them broken in class too.
No.
I'll kick you in the face.
I know. I've gotten hit in the face, but you know what? That's part of it, and I'm aware of that, and that's okay. I know I'm going to get hit. It's
anyway,
okay.
There's no martial arts in the Tinder bar.
No, but it is a great movie, and you really need to see it. It got me in the feels. I was crying all over the place.
I know it's this guy's life, so it's not a Hollywood twist, but I love the fact that this story never had a moment where suddenly the uncle and the little boy are on the outs.
No.
You know, because in every one of these movies like this, they always have a fight, and they break up, and then this big emotional recursion. They never have a moment. You know, they may not agree on some things, but they never have a moment they're on their outs. They're always important to each other, and that keep the evolution. It happens in other characters, but
no,
anyway,
it's a really good movie.
It's a great movie. I think it's still in theaters, but it's also going to be hitting Prime Video if it's not already.
Okay.
Oh, here I'll tell you. It might already be on Prime Video.
Do we want to talk about anything else?
January 7th will be on Prime Video.
We are going way over.
What's the other one?
We still have that.
It's up to you. Well, we can
save that.
We can save that. We can do this other one. It's out now. Or we can...
Okay, let's talk one more movie, then we'll cut it off.
Right.
We have so much to talk about.
We're not going any longer than we always do.
I know.
Jerkhead.
Someone said, so I got a private message. Sorry we missed your show. We're missing your live show. We were watching Spider-Man. OMG, it was so good.
Unacceptable. Yes. You should not be watching. But you should be watching my show during Spider-Man.
Go watch our review of Spider-Man. All right, final movie for today.
So this next one is yet another sequel. It's another one that got delayed, but it's the animated film Sing 2.
And I am just...
And you may not know this. It's a sequel to Sing.
I was gonna say I am blown away by the fact that our 24-year-old son, or 22,
He's
23,
24,
23,
Now you make us look stupid.
23.
Yeah.
That this Sing is his favorite movie.
It's not his favorite
It's
movie, but he
one
does
of-
watch it often.
That is so
Now he
hilarious.
has a 1-year-old that he can watch with and make it, but he'll watch it on his own. He don't
I
care.
know, that's just so bizarre to me that this is one of his favorite movies. So
He's Fast and Furious and Sing, apparently.
that me too.
And Coco
Anyway,
Melon.
Sing 2. Man, I really love the first movie, Sing. I think my favorite is the secretary. What's her name? Oh Lord, now I just forgot. Miss
The
whatever.
lizard lady,
The lizard lady.
who is voiced by the director of the film.
Really?
Yeah, by the guy.
Oh Lord, she is the funniest.
Miss Crowley or
Miss Crowley.
something like that.
Yes, but it's spelled Crawley because she's a lizard.
Crawley.
Miss Crawley. Anyways, and her eyeball always pops
Yeah, she
out.
got her fake eye.
Oh my gosh! But in
But
this,
she got a lot more to do in the
yes,
second
in
movie.
this movie, she is just so in charge. She's like, make sure this out. She's like, okay. So she's yelling at everybody, and it is just over the top, and I love it.
Here's my thing with these movies: is I like the first one, and I like animated films, but I wasn't sure. The problem with sequels to some of these movies, especially this one with the very specific theme
Mm-hmm.
and not just the world of characters. You know, like something like Zootopia, for instance. They could easily do a bunch of Zootopia movies and just do stuff taking place in Zootopia, right? Sing is very specific to the music,
Yep.
and these cast of characters doing a show. So it's like, is it gonna just feel like a rehash of the first film, doing the same crap again, you know, or were they going to be able to do something new and make it stand out to be worthy of being a sequel, you know? And I think they did a fine job. I mean, it is a lot of rehashing the first movie, but I think because they moved the show from the smaller talent show to a big production show, gave them new elements and new villains and new things to do with it, you know. And I think the whole side story with the lion guy, kind of felt shoveled in a little bit. But I understand its point for the story. It worked fine. It kind of created other elements. So, what did you think of the new one?
I loved it. I mean, I like these movies.
Did you love this movie, or did you love the music of this movie?
I love the music of the movie, but I mean, we had some new to me songs. I don't know if they're new or originals, but they're new to me. And so I liked it though. I like these characters because you have your underdogs. Like they come from a little small town theater, and they move basically to their version of like Las Vegas and try to get a whole Vegas show going. And, you know, I like rooting for the underdog, and I think it's cute seeing how they put this little production together and the costumes and just the little adversities they're going through and running around and doing funny things that make no sense, because that's what the fun of the first one was, you know. So I kind of like the little formula of it, and I just think it's so cute and endearing.
I did enjoy it. I do like that they kind of let some focus be on different people. It wasn't the same. You have everybody here, but it's not. You know, the first one felt like it focused way more on just the poor girl and
the elephant.
This time around, everybody seemed a little better balanced. You know, and I know the first one they were trying to sell the characters up.
Correct.
So this time it let us do some new things. Like I said, give Miss Crowley or whatever her name is, Crawley or whatever it is, give her more of a prominent
moment. And we do get some new characters and villains. So, I mean, it's all good. I think it's fun.
I will say I do have issues, and this goes for any kind of musical like this, when they change popular songs. It sometimes bothers me. Like this one, I think it's a Prince song. And the Let's Go Crazy song in this one.
Yeah.
That one. That whole production is just kind of like, because you know how the song is supposed to sound and what they do with it.
I know.
It's not bad. It just bothers me. And I know, and I'm not alone because I've read some other people talk about it too.
Goodness, it's a movie.
Yeah, but that goes anytime anybody remakes a song. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's horrific, sometimes it's, hey, that's just as good as the other, you know. So, but it's nothing in there is overly bad from that. But the animation is beautiful and vibrant,
and I like knowing that actors can sing. It makes me happy. So there you go.
It's a worthy sequel. If you like the first one, you'll probably like the second one.
You're gonna love it.
We could go on and on about it, but it's a lot of the same kind of stuff, not in a bad way. It's just, if
you liked it, you're gonna like the first one. You'll like this.
Yeah,
one. Go watch it.
So Sing 2 is in theaters now.
Go check it. Check 1 2.
Right.
Mic check 1 2.
That me up now.
That's you. We're gonna we have some other stuff that we've watched, but we have so much to talk about next week too. Don't worry.
We'll get to some Netflix movies and some other stuff. So this week being after Christmas and leading into New Year's, there's not a lot coming out. on the Blu-ray front. One of the ones we will be talking about next week is the French Dispatch, getting the Blu-ray release. We're finally going to get to check that out. Also, we'll be talking about Antlers, which we talked on here before. We'll let you talk about it because you've now finally seen it.
Yes, I have finally
So
seen
she'll
it.
get to talk about it.
Excited.
A movie we've already talked about, Castle Falls with Dolph Lundgren and Scott Adkins, is getting the Blu-ray release next week. Other than that, some like random stuff that I've never. Some movie. What is this? Something with Juliette Lewis that you love.
Oh goodness.
Some war movie, but I'm trying to see. Some movie with. I don't know. Any of these people are a bunch of women. It looks like it's probably like a World War II movie or something. Anyway, it's called Mayday. It's coming out. I know nothing about it. That's pretty much it. There's not a lot coming out this week.
All right. Well, coming out on the line or in theaters near you. Monday, that would be tomorrow, December 27th on Stars. It is Finding Kendrick Johnson. This is an important story that I don't know if everybody's aware of, but in 2013, a young man named Kendrick Johnson was found dead in his high school, and his body was rolled up in a gym mat. So that tells you somebody rolled it up and put it there, right? But nay, I tell you, they ruled it an accidental death.
Of course they did. Let me guess. Is he African American?
He was African American. His family was all upset. They hired their own forensic examiner who realized that he was, in fact, not just accidentally suffocated in a rolled up mat. He had been beaten to death, and his organs had been taken from his body. And guess what? To this day, we don't really know what happened. That's what this movie's about. I think it's important.
Is this a documentary?
Yes.
Okay.
So please watch it.
I apologize if you don't.
It's Morgan Freeman, I believe, is narrating.
Of course
so
he does.
We're in. Wednesday, coming to Disney Plus.
It's not a movie.
It is a series.
I'm very excited. It's the Book of Boba Fett.
Correct.
Which is spinning off of the second season of The Mandalorian. So if you're going to watch it, you don't necessarily need to see the other Star Wars movies, but it probably wouldn't hurt if you at least watched Empire and Return of the Jedi so you know the introduction and the demise of Boba Fett in theory. But then he does return.
Season 2 of Mandalorian. Oh.
And then in Mandalorian, his return and the story of how to get there. And
oh my goodness. Bless you.
Excuse me. And where the show leads, because that show picks up from the finale of Mandalorian.
So I'm assuming that's what we'll be watching today.
With or without you, I'll be watching it.
With or without you. Okay. These are limited release. Coming on Friday, coming to Netflix, is a movie called SEAL Team.
Oh my God.
It's not SEAL Team with soldiers. It is SEAL Team, like literally a seal.
It's an animated
and
feature.
His team of friends in the ocean fighting back against a shark attack. Also coming to Netflix is a movie called The Lost Daughter. It's got Dakota Johnson, Peter Skarsgård, Olivia Colman, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Ed Harris. There's so many people in this. It looks really good and interesting. Then, guess what? We head into January this week, my friends.
Is there any big? I don't think there's any.
Coming out Saturday, January 1st on HBO Max. Something I've been waiting for is the Harry Potter 20th Anniversary Reunion Show. It's a retrospective with the stars of Harry Potter looking back on the 20 years and all the movies that they made together. That is this Saturday. New Year's Day. So there you go. That's it for right now.
And then we still have a few contests going on. Did you have all that ready?
I do have the contest ready, surprisingly.
Nothing new that we haven't had the last few weeks, but I still have copies, so I leave them up. So we're going to have copies of The Many Saints of Newark, the Sopranos prequel series movie, Hell Hath No Fury with Daniel Bernhardt, Raging Fire, the Donnie Yen shoot 'em up, karate 'em up action movie. It's a great movie. Cry Macho, the Clint Eastwood flick, which is like a modern-day Western something or other. The Monkey King Reborn animated feature has nothing to do with the other Monkey King movies. And Malignant, which I always have to stop because I keep trying to call it the Disney name. So Malignant, which is James Wan new movie. Not to be confused with, watch this, Maleficent. That's why I do it. Keep her doing that because every time I say, no matter where I'm at, if I say Maleficent,
it's Maleficent.
She will correct me on purpose, and now I just do it to irritate her.
Lord.
Anyway, we have all those available with some new stuff in theory, there's another one either this week or next week we'll have popping up. It's one of the big releases of this year. We'll have a giveaway for that in theory.
Free stuff. Okay, so thank you
also,
so much for watching. Yes.
Something that's coming out this week. I'm not going to do a big review of it. I might talk about it next week. But the Shawscope Volume 1 collection, which is a 12-movie collection from the Shaw Brothers archive, which, if you don't know what the Shaw Brothers are, that was the biggest martial arts movie production company in Asia for years and years and years. That put out all the Chopsaki Kung Fu Theater flicks. I just posted a review for it. The first volume, and I don't know how many sets are going to do, comes out. It's got 12 movies like Five Deadly Venoms, Five Fingers of Death, The Shaolin Master, Boxer for Shang Tsung, The Mighty Peking Man, Chinatown Kid, The Shaolin Temple. So many different ones, and they're all fun movies if you like that stuff. So check that out. It comes in like a book. It comes in like some place card things. It comes in a bunch of cool stuff.
Hold on. Okay, the dog is ready to go, so that means our show is now over. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you go to our website, HollywoodMatrimony.com. Click the contest button. Thank you for watching us live on YouTube and Facebook. Don't forget to also go find us on Instagram and Twitter, and we will see you next Sunday. Oh, Happy New Year, guys.
Yeah, we will see you next year.
See you next
on our
year.
first show of the new year next Sunday. Be here.